Good afternoon, Pastor.
What day is this? Date is this? Well, I've got a little news for you, if you don't know it already. Today is the official, according to the document, the 4th of July. The document itself has the date of authorization for that holiday is the 2nd, not the 4th. But a mistake occurred, and I won't say any more than that because we have since learned it wasn't a mistake. Somebody was, well, I won't go there. It's a true story, but it won't be true with us. I'll let somebody else tell that one. It's on the books. Today, though, we'll start on the story of the prophet Ezekiel, part 2. Ezekiel was the prophet chosen to beckon to the people of Elohim, God to those who aren't familiar. Chosen to beckon to the people of Elohim to come back into his graces and repent of their multitude of sins. By the time of Ezekiel, the people who were left in Jerusalem after the first captivity consoled themselves with the idea that they were so far better off than their brethren who were taken to Babylon. They believed that Yahweh Elohim would protect them from any foreign power. And that neither the city of Jerusalem nor the Judean kingdom would ever be overthrown. Heard this before, haven't we? Ezekiel's task was to disillusion them with reference to this hope, to make clear to them that the city would be destroyed, and also the reasons why it would be overthrown. To accomplish these tasks, the prophet performed a number of symbolic acts, something that hadn't been done by prophets before, acting out their prophecies. But since just speaking them the first time didn't work, God or Elohim tried something different. Ezekiel, the 5th chapter, the 1st verse. Start there. Ezekiel, the 5th chapter, the 1st verse. And you, son of man, take for yourself a sword, sharp as a barber's razor. Take it for yourself, and you must cause it to pass over your head and over your beard. And you must take for yourself a set of scales for weighing, and you must divide them. A third you must burn with fire in the midst of the city at the completion of the days of the siege. And you must take a third, and you must strike it with the sword around it. And a third you must scatter to the wind. And I will draw a sword behind them. Verse 3. And you must take from these a few in number, and you must tuck them in your hem of your garment. And from them again you shall take some, and you must throw them in the middle of the fire, and you must burn them with fire. From it a fire will go out to all of the house of Israel. Thus says the sovereign Yahweh, this is Jerusalem in the midst of the nations where I have put her. I have put her, and countries around her. But she has rebelled against my regulations to the point of wickedness more than the nations, and my statutes more than the countries around her. For they have rejected my regulations, and as for my statutes, they did not walk in them. How did they think that they were going to go on like this? Verse 7. Therefore, thus says the sovereign Yahweh, because of your commotion, more than the nations that are around you, you did not walk in my statutes, and you did not do my regulations. And according to the regulations of the nations that are around you, you did not do my regulations. You disregarded, and the regulations of the surrounding nations also you disregarded. Verse 8. Therefore, thus says the sovereign Yahweh, look, even I, am against you, and I will execute judgment in the midst of you, before the eyes of the nations. I'm going to front you off in front of everybody. Verse 9. And I will do with you that which I have not done, and which I will not do again. Note that. I won't do it again. Because of all of your detestable things, therefore parents will eat children in the midst of you, and children will eat their parents, and I will execute judgment in you, and I will scatter your entire remnant. Not everybody, just the remnant, to every wind. Therefore, as surely as I live, declares the Master Yahweh, surely because you have defiled my sanctuary with all of your vile idols and with all of your detestable things, now indeed I will reduce, and my eye will not take pity, and surely I will show no compassion. A third of you will die. Sounds like the end time, huh? A third of you will die because of the plague and because of the famine. They will perish in the midst of you. And a third will fall through the sword around you. And the third I will scatter to every direction of the wind. and I will draw the sword behind them, and my anger will come to an end. Kind of looks like they will too. And I will place my rage on them, and I will relent, and they will know that I, Yahweh, have spoken in my passion, when I fully vent my rage against them. And I will make you into a desolate place and into a disgrace among the nations that surround you before the eyes of everyone who passes by. And it will be an object of taunting and an object of mockery, a warning and a horror to the nations that are around you. Whenever I execute judgments against you in anger and in wrath and in furious punishments, I, Yahweh, have spoken. Verse 16. When I send my arrows of deadly famine against them, which will be as destruction, that I will send in order to destroy you. I will increase famine against you, and I will break the supply of food for you. That's happening to us right now. Anybody goes into a restaurant, everything is 5 times what it was. And that tells you that they're short of food. Verse 17. And I will send against you famine and fierce animals, and they will make you childless. And plague and blood will pass through you, and I will bring the sword upon you. I, Yahweh, have spoken. Continuing in Ezekiel, the 6th chapter, the 1st verse. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face to the mountains of Israel, and prophesy against them. And you must say, mountains of Israel, hear the word of the sovereign Yahweh. Thus says the Master Yahweh to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the ravines, and to the valleys. Talk to the land, because the people won't listen. Look, I am bringing upon you the sword, and I will destroy your high places. High places? What are they doing with high places? That's where you sacrifice other things to your idols. I will destroy your high places. Verse 4, and your altars will be desolate, and your incense altars will be broken. And I will throw down your slain ones before your idols. Hold your finger here for a minute. A sword against you, and I will destroy your high places. Altars to pagan gods, small g, were often set on the top of the hills and mountains in ancient Israel and the broader region. This idolatry on the high places was inherited from the Canaanites and often practiced by the Israelites. Yahweh Elohim promised this judgment of the sword against them, these places, and their idolatries. Ezekiel, the watchman, was warning the people that an invasion was coming because Yahweh, despite their protests and rants against his doing so, had seen their sins and was about to punish them. Ezekiel, the 6th chapter, the 5th verse. And I will place the corpses of the children of Israel before their idols. That's what you did. And I will scatter your bones around your altars. And all of your dwellings, the cities will be desolate, and the high places will be ruined, so that your altars will be desolate and will suffer punishment. Your idols will be broken and will come to an end, and your incense altars will be cut down, and your works will be destroyed. And the slain one will fall in the midst of you. And then you will know that I am Yahweh. You know who he's talking about then. I am Yahweh. But I will spare some, so there will be for you fugitives from the sword, and among the nations, when you are scattered in the countries, and your fugitives will remember me among the nations to which they were taken captive, that I was shattered by their adulterous hearts, which departed from me, and by their adulterous eyes, which went after their idols. And they will feel loathing for themselves, for the evil that they did, for all of their detestable things. And they will and for the evil things that they did, for all of their detestable things. And they will know that I am Yahweh. Not in vain I spoke to bring to them this evil. Thus says the Master Yahweh, clap your hand and stamp with your feet. And alas, for all the detestable things of the evil of the house of Israel, because of which they will fall with the sword, with the famine, and with the plague. Don't look like they're winning this war, huh? Verse 12. The one who is far away will die by the plague, and the one who is near will fall by the sword. And the one who is being left behind and being spared, look at that again. Everybody else says the ones left behind are in bad shape. What does the Bible say? The one who is left behind and being spared will die by the famine. And I will complete my rage on them. I will complete my rage on them. And you will know that I am Yahweh. When their slain ones are in the midst of their idols, around their altars, at every high hill, on the tops of all the mountains, and under every green tree, and under every leafy oak, the place at which they gave a pleasing scent for all of their idols. 14. And I will stretch out my hand against them, and I will make the land a desolation and a wasteland, from the desert to Riblah, in all of their dwellings, and they will know that I am Yahweh. Nothing else worked. Talking didn't work. They're having Ezekiel act out this stuff before them, and that doesn't work. The heading of this next chapter is the wrath of Yahweh Elohim. And I always was taught that the wrath came at the end. Ezekiel, the 7th chapter, the 1st verse. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, And you, son of man, thus says the Master Yahweh to the land of Israel, the end comes, the end, on the four corners of the land. Now the end is on you, and I will send my anger on you, and I will judge you according to your ways, and I will bring on you all of your detestable things, and my eye will not take pity on you, and I will not show compassion for your ways. On you I will bring your detestable things. They will be in the midst of you, and you will know that I am Yahweh. Thus says the sovereign Yahweh, look, disaster after disaster is coming. The end comes the end. It has awakened against you. Look, it comes. Doom is coming against you. The dweller of the land, the time comes. The day is near. Panic and not joy is on the mountains. That's where your high places were, weren't they? Verse 8. Soon I will pour out my rage on you, and I will fully vent my anger on you, and I will judge you according to your ways, and I will bring on you all of your detestable things, and my eye will not take pity, and I will not show compassion. According to your ways I will deal with you, and your detestable things will be in the midst of you, and you will know that I am Yahweh, who strikes. Look, the day is coming. Doom goes out. Anybody ever played that game a few years ago, Doom? If you did, you have a pretty good picture of what this looks like. If you didn't, stay awake for a while. The day is coming. Doom goes out. The staff blossoms. Pride sprouts. That's a bad thing when pride sprouts. When you are full of devilment, and that devilment is cast down by Yahweh. The day is coming. Doom goes out. The staff blossoms. Pride sprouts. Verse 11. Violence has grown to become a staff of wickedness. None from them will remain, and none from their abundance, nor from their wealth and prominence will not be among them. Your wealth will do nothing for you. Nothing. Verse 12. The time has come. The day has arrived. Let not the buyer rejoice, and let the seller not mourn, for anger is on all their multitude. Verse 13. For the seller will not return to the merchandise while they are still alive. For the vision is about all of its multitude. It will not change. And a man, because of his guilt, will not be able to hold on to his life. They shall blow on the trumpet and prepare everything, for there is no one going to the battle. For my anger is on all of their multitude. The sword is outside, and the plague and the famine are inside. The one who is in the field will die by the sword, and the one who is in the city, famine and plague will devour him. And if their survivors will escape, they will be on the mountains like the doves of the valley, all of them groaning, each because of his guilt. That's something else there. You got to zoom on that a little bit. All of these things we were doing in the hills, but your end comes in the hills. And if their survivors will escape, they will be on the mountains like the doves of the valley, all of them groaning on the hills, each because of his guilt. Verse 17. All of the hands will hang limp, and all of their knees will be wet with urine. And they will wear sackcloth, and horror will cover them. And all of the faces will be shame, and baldness on all of their heads. Their silver they will discard on the streets, and filth will be their gold. Their silver and their gold will not be able to rescue them on the day of the wrath of Yahweh. They think it will, though. They think it will. And I say, think again. They will not satisfy their hunger, and their stomachs they will not fill, for their guilt will be their stumbling block. And the beauty of its ornament he made into a prideful thing, and made with it their detestable things and their vile idols. Therefore, I will make it into an impure thing for them. Verse 21. And I will give it into the hand of strangers as plunder, and to the wicked people of the earth as spoil. And they will defile it. And I will turn my face from them, and they will defile my treasured place, and violent ones will enter into it and defile it. Make a chain for the land. It is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence. 24. And I will bring the worst of the nations, and they will take possession of their houses. And I will put to an end the pride of the mighty ones, and their sanctuaries will be defiled. Anguish comes, and they will seek peace, and there will be none. Calamity upon calamity will come, and rumor will be upon rumor, and that's already happened. And they will seek a vision from a prophet, but instructions will perish from the priest, and counsel from the elders. The kings will mourn, and the prince will be dressed with despair. And the hands of the people of the land will tremble. According to their way, I will do to them. Whatever you're doing, he will do to you. Put it a little bit straighter. And according to their judgments, I will judge them. And they will know that I am Yahweh. It reads a little bit different when you know the names. Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, the 1st verse. The addition here is abominations in the temple. Abominations in the temple. Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, the 1st verse. And when in the 6th year, in the 6th month, on the 5th day of the month, he just told you when he's coming back. I was sitting in my house, and the elders of Judah were sitting before me. And the hand of the sovereign Yahweh fell on me there. And I saw and looked a figure like the appearance of a man. From the appearance of the waist and below was fire. And from his waist and upward was like the appearance of brightness. He shone like the sun, in other words, like the outward appearance of amber. fire was red. And he sent out the form of a hand, and he took me by a lock of hair of my head, and the Spirit lifted me between earth and heaven. And it brought me to Jerusalem in visions of Yahweh Elohim, to the doorway of the inner gate that faced north, at which there was the seat of the image of jealousy, which was making jealous. Who was it making jealous? Yahweh Elohim. Verse 4. And look, there was the glory of Yahweh Elohim of Israel, like the vision that I saw in the valley. And he said to me, Son of man, lift up now your eyes toward the north. And I lifted up my eyes toward the north. And I said, and look, there was to the north of the gate of the altar this image of jealousy at the entrance. And he said to me, Son of man, do you see what they are doing? Great detestable things that the house of Israel is committing here, so as to drive me from my sanctuary. Whatever they were doing was so distasteful that he ran up out of his own sanctuary. But read on. It's here, exactly what they're doing. And yet you will see again greater detestable thing. Verse 7. And he brought me to the doorway of the courtyard, and I saw, and look, a hole in the wall. And he said to me, Son of man, dig now through the wall. And I dug through the wall. And look, there was a doorway. And he said to me, Come and see the detestable things, the evil that they are doing here. And I came and saw all kinds of creatures and detestable beasts. And all of the idols of the house of Israel were carved on the wall all around. And 70 men from the elders of the house of Israel, and Jezaniah, the son of Shaphan, was standing on the midst of them, in the midst of them. And they were standing before them. Each one had his censer in his hand. And the fragrance of the cloud of the incense was going up. And he said to me, Have you seen, Son of man, what the elders of the house of Israel are doing in the dark? Each in the inner rooms of his idol. For they are saying, Yahweh is not seeing us. Yahweh has abandoned the land. And he said to me, Still you will see again greater detestable things that they are doing. And he brought me to the doorway of the gate of the house of Yahweh, that is north. And look, there were the women sitting, weeping for Tammuz. While the men of the nations, represented by the 70 elders, were secretly carrying on their idolatrous worship, the women were sitting at the temple gate and indulging in public lamentation for Tammuz. Under the weeping for Tammuz, it was called Tammuz, both in Hebrew and Syriac. And because according to the pagan legend, this Tammuz, the lover of Venus and most beautiful youth, is said to have been slain in the month of June. That's why to this day, most people want a June wedding. The most popular reason why so many weddings, as I said, are scheduled for the month of June, if you didn't know. And according to this pagan legend, then Tammuz was restored to life again. They call this month of June by the same name and keep an annual festival in his honor. Janus, he was called, at which he is lamented by women as though he were dead, and then afterwards celebrated in songs as having come to life again. That sounds like who? Everything that God does, Satan mimics. Everything. Ezekiel was dismayed because the women were there in the holy place, reserved only for the priests, and because of their immoral idolatry, and apparently with the blessing and permission of the priesthood. Continuing in Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, the 15th verse. And he said to me, Son of man, still you will see again greater detestable things than these. And he brought me to the inner courtyard of the house of Yahweh. And look at the doorway of the temple of Yahweh, between the portico and the altar. There were about 25 men with their backs to the temple of Yahweh. Look at that for a minute. You're speaking to you all, and all of a sudden, the man turns away from you. What does that mean to you? He don't care about you. That's the polite way to say it. He don't care about you. There were about 25 men with their backs to the temple of Yahweh and their faces toward the east. And they were bowing down toward the east before the sun. And he said to me, have you seen, Son of Man? Was it too small a thing for the house of Judah to do the detestable things that they did here? For they filled up the land with violence, and they provoked me to anger. And look, they are putting the branch to their nose. Indeed, they put the branch to their nose. When they were facing the wrong way, they put the branch to their nose. That's an insult. Who is the branch? Who is the branch? Yes. Indeed, they put the branch to the nose. This is an unusual statement used only here in the Old Testament. It was somewhat obscure, the expression of contempt for Yahweh Elohim. The phrase "put the branch to the nose" is obscure. It's obscure because the Jewish commenters wouldn't comment about it. But many understood it to refer to some revolting and wicked rite. But the biggest hint that we have seen is known. Who is the branch? That was the biggest hint. The Old Testament tells us who is titled the branch. I was going to look around a little bit. Found it in Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, the 5th verse. Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, the 5th verse. Look, days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he will reign as king, and he will achieve success, and he will do justice and righteousness in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved. Has that happened yet? Has that happened yet? No. And Israel will dwell in safety. That happened yet? Nope. And this is his name by which he will be called. Yahweh is our righteousness. Who is the branch? Therefore, look, days are coming, declares Yahweh, when they will no longer say, as Yahweh lives, who led up the Israelites from the land of Egypt, but as Yahweh lives, who led up and who brought the offspring of the house of Israel from the land of the north and from the land where he had driven them, and they will live in their land. That gesture was something else. But you know what this means. This thing was the branch. They were saying that about Yahweh. We will end with Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, the 18th verse. And so I will act in rage, and my eye will not take pity, and I will not have compassion. And they will cry in my ear with a loud voice, and I will not hear them. If they have shown it anywhere else in the Bible, they show it here. They still don't believe in Yeshua as their Messiah. Any questions, comments?
Solomon said, is there anything new under the sun?
Nope. Not here. There will be. In the end, a few will come to him, but only a remnant. Only a remnant. And that gesture, there's nothing on it. Sandy.
It's just amazing what Yahweh is saying and how he's saying, I'm going to destroy this, I'm going to break this down, your money is not going to be worth anything, this is going to happen, that. And we read this about what happened to the Israelites. We read what has happened before, and you would think that would wake us up. You would think that it would not be so much crime and so much confusion in the world if people were reading this and took heed to it. I mean, we can read it all day long. It's just a matter of do we take heed to what it's saying. Because
Most don't.
it's really scary.
Most
Why
don't.
does history repeat itself?
Exactly. Exactly.
Why? Why is because we don't learn. We don't learn.
We just keep doing what we want to do.
Mhm.
And we're
And
not,
maybe is there a reason for it?
exactly. What is it that continues to make us continue to do the same things? When you read this, it should scare us,
All is futile.
scare us to do the right things, but apparently it's not.
There's two reasons for that. One is this flesh.
Yeah, right.
One is this flesh. Number two is the people that he put all his, not faith in, but he isn't doing this because of something they did. He promised 3 men, and I'm going to say somewhere else in this, the only ones that are going to be saved by his fealty to these 3 men is the men. It says in the book that the families of these men will not be saved. Only the men will be saved. And I dug around for a while to find it, but those men were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And in a part of the book where that comes up, and I believe it's later in Ezekiel where it comes up, they're even at some point, even their families will be let go. And the only ones that will be saved, and Christ said it somewhere else in the book. You don't come to me with that stuff about being the descendants of Abraham and that. That won't do you any good. Ruby.
Funny what Sister Sandy said, that they would be terrified with all this. But I always bring my family as an example, nobody else, but because I live it, my family. You see of all the stuff that my brothers and my dad gone through. And at the moments when they wanted, they fear, they tremble, they cry, they confess. Then they stop doing what they're doing and they become complacent. And they're like, well, if I didn't die, then I'm okay. And they continue. And this is what the word is. The Father has shown them so much compassion, so much love, so many avenues to go to. And they figure, well, hey, I'm not dead. I can continue. And it goes on and it repeats itself centuries after centuries. And I'm like, you think, when will this stop?
It won't.
The Father says so.
I've been,
Or I think about this. I think about with the intercessory prayer. When every Sabbath, everyone is standing there doing an intercessory prayer. And if we really saw miracles, if we really, with these prayers, if we saw healing and changing and all this to occur,
it wouldn't do any good. It would be, it will be,
Exactly.
it would be good for about 5 minutes. Rashida.
Right. I mean, the sea parted, and they walked through a parted sea
And they
to get
see
away
them
from
now,
the Egyptians that were
all
trying
this.
to kill them, and they were saved. And then the seas swallowed the Egyptians up, and we still complain, oh, my feet hurt. Do we have to eat manna again?
Right.
Oh, I want some quail. Oh, I'm tired of this quail. Oh, what did my feet hurt? We constantly complained and sinned. So miracles, unfortunately, I mean, even those who saw Yeshua perform miracles, they went right back. Let's talk about Peter.
You know what it
I love.
proves? It proves that everything is temporary. Everything is temporary.
We forget so easily. Like, let me think about Peter for a second. He's one of my favorite because he's the one of the most problematic, and I just love him so much because he tries hard. But right after Yeshua said, "Feed my lambs," he went back to fishing for actual fish. When he said, "No, you're going to be a fisherman of men," he went back to throwing the net. And then Christ basically had to, when he didn't get any fish, I think that's in John, when he didn't get any fish, and then Christ was like, "Hey, I told you to feed my lambs." And then he had all this fish on the shore say, "I control the seas. You have to do what I say to do." So even Peter walked with him and still went back.
Right?
Mhm.
Right?
It's the flesh.
And these are selected people that Yeshua.
That's why no one is going to be in flesh in the kingdom.
Exactly.
The flesh is part of the problem.
Well, then, we can't get out of this flesh, we're to die.
We
Yeah.
have to learn to put it into submission. That's the whole point.
Even the ones that in time that die on their feet, that 1 second or whatever you die, you're still going to die. The ones that are in the graves now, that's a minute to them. Rashida.
Like that verse when Paul said, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." I think we misquote that so much because if you look at the Greek, it means I can endure things through all. I can endure all things through Christ who strengthens me. We say we can do, but it's endure. And then he wrote it from a prison cell, showing that he's going against his flesh because he could be angry, he could be mad at God, but here I'm awaiting my death. And here I'm still going to have faith in you. That's what basically denying the flesh is. That's why he says, "I have died with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me." So that's the whole point of this.
So he asked that he endures to the end.
So we gotta put the flesh into submission.
Exactly.
In order to, well,
Even
so when we see
if
the miracles happen, when we see the healing, and even though, I mean, we're suffering and then, for instance, with my sister, with Savannah, the fact that she is not on dialysis is a miracle.
Right?
It's a miracle that she's not on dialysis. The fact that she has only 20% of her kidneys, and it's a miracle that she is not even taking dialysis. That's a miracle.
yeah,
That's
it
the
is.
feeling that we-
The only person that sees that as such as a person that realizes that usually that's the point where you go into dialysis at 20% or lower.
Yes, but so I'm saying that's a miracle.
Yeah.
So when we see these kind of things, shouldn't that build our faith?
It should. It should.
Build our faith
It should.
more,
But
deeper?
you're in this. You're in this stuff.
We forget.
Ruby.
And it's true. The fact that at a 20%, you do need dialysis. My brother, the same thing. He kept on doing what he did. He was worse than 20. He's in dialysis. You would think this would strengthen him up. He still eats however he wants. He figures that's okay. I'll go the following day to get cleaned up. The stubbornness, the desire of doing what the flesh does instead of saying, I could do this for Christ, who strengthens me, who's helping me to endure. And they say, they have more faith in the doctor's feeling to leave me out. But they don't realize Christ is the one that's keeping you afloat. Not the machines, not the cleaning of the blood. It's the Father. But do they see that? No. Like you said, Pastor, it's the flesh. The flesh. As long as we continue to give into the flesh, we're always going to be in trouble.
You would rather go to the decorator instead of the designer. The designer knows every piece of this body.
Right?
The designer just decorated things for you. And we would rather go to the designer because he doesn't have any commandments.
Decorator.
Dwayne.
When the government was being formed under the current administration, they plainly said that there is no place for God in this administration. That was their statement. And they even voted on it at their convention. And God was voted out. Nothing in the platform with God. online right now.
And it's doing so well, right?
Yes. Oh, they voted God out of the schools. Look how the schools are doing.
Yep.
You know? Look at the educational.
And the thing that they corrected, Roe v. Wade, I'm going to say
Oh
it,
my God.
and so many people are out in the streets about that. The right to kill a baby?
Why don't we just call it kill a baby instead of abortion?
They eventually will.
Okay.
They eventually will.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, what I don't understand is saying it's my body, my choice, but that baby is not your body.
No, it's somebody
It's
else's
something,
body.
it's someone else's body, and it's not your body anymore. Why is that my body? But that's not your body. You are not that baby. Just because you are holding it is not, that is not you. It is something that you have been given to produce, but that baby is not you, so it's not your body, therefore it is not your choice.
It was self-control, that lack of self-control that got you into that place in the first place. And the place of your choice, you're choosing the wrong point of choice. You're choosing the wrong point of choice. You spread your feet instead of crossing them. That was the choice. That was the point of choice. Dwayne.
There's a 100-year-old veteran online right now crying because he said, this is not the land we fought and died for.
That's right.
All of our family that fought.
Everything is falling apart. Sherry.
Speaking on the children, and we're talking about miracles, and it is a miracle when a mother can carry a human being inside of her womb. That's a miracle. They're all around us, but we keep dismissing them. And that is a miracle in itself, to carry a human being inside the womb of your body. And all the bones and everything is in perfect condition. And this child is still living and breathing inside the mother's nucleus and not drowning from the embryo fluids. That is a miracle. So how can we dismiss the miracles all around us? How can we dismiss them? And they're so right here in front of us. And as Rashida said, they part the Father parted the seas, and we still want more. We were in the wilderness. I want more food. So should we go back to Egypt because we were okay there? And your clothes never wilted, and your shoes never became filthy and tormented, and you still want more. Yeshua has given us more, but we keep missing the miracles. They're all around us. They're all around us, and we keep missing them.
Because
Open our eyes and put our selfish pride aside and look. It's right there in front of us.
if they collect or recognize the miracles, then you have to recognize where the miracles came from. That's what we're not willing to do. Ruby?
In Indiana, there's a couple of clinics where there's been lines of young babies and even ladies of my age waiting to have these disbursement of these pills to abort, since they're not able to do what they want, to get rid of these children. And it just broke my heart, because I said, they're walking, smoking, acting like if they're going there to buy the greatest bubble gum ever. And they're making lines and they don't care. They have these signs. My body, my choice. And they'll have like a cursing to stay out of my life, stay. And I think how it's just overwhelming, the thought. So much goes through your mind, especially us as women, because we're the ones who carry. We feel, we know what we go through. My goodness, and for them to display this and say, we don't want this.
Rashida.
Oh, I was gonna say there are these programs though that exist that are really trying to give people another option other than abortion. The sad thing about it is that because our news is so corrupted, we don't hear about these pregnancy centers. Like there's even a pill that actually reverses the effects of the abortion pill. That if you take it within a week or so of taking the abortion pill, then it will actually reverse the effects and the baby will stay intact. Because it actually takes, I think, a week for the pill to actually do its job, so you can reverse it. So but you don't hear about that. I just heard some O's because they don't talk about that. Or there's also organization called the Morning Center, where basically when teenage girls get pregnant, what they'll do is they actually will find housing for them. If they want to go and get their education while they're pregnant, they will pay for that. And also they will find the parents and go do the background checks so that these babies can be adopted into a home instead of going into the system. But they're not getting the funding that they deserve because it's
nobody hears about it.
Parenthood. And Planned Parenthood, and then what Planned Parenthood likes to say is that, oh no, but we provide contraception. No, they only make money on the termination. And a lady who she was actually a director of a very successful Planned Parenthood for about 10 years. She decided to leave because she became a Christian and she said, I can't do this anymore. But what they don't say in the news is that they're not just killing babies who are 4 months or, no. Some people are giving birth and then they will kill the baby after the birth is made. So these babies are coming out alive and then they will put them in a plastic bag and say, okay, we're done. So but people don't talk about that. They're thinking about
The only person that I ever heard say that was the guy that's the head of Narth.com. And they shut him down after that.
They have evidence that these are full-term babies. Wow.
Yeah. Sandy.
I'm on this app called Nextdoor. It's a community app. And this lady put on there, she wanted to know what to do about, she had a mourning dove that was pregnant and sitting on her plant. Just a basket plant that she bought at Jewel's or Homewood or whatever. Just a plastic, the ones that you hang. So a mourning dove is sitting right inside of the plant, and she is nesting because she's having babies. So she writes on Nextdoor, what should I do with this? Can I water my plant? I don't know if I can water my plant. What should I do with this? She said, I don't know what to do. There's just like with Roe versus Wade, if I take my plant back because it's my plant, doesn't mean that I have killed her bird. And I couldn't even, and all these people are answering and trying to comment on this. And I'm saying, well, you have to pay maybe $19.99 for this hanging plant. You cannot let this bird sit in the plant and birth her chicks. You willing to kill the baby so if you touch the plant, the bird's not going to come back. And here's the baby's dead. Because you want to save a $19.99 plant?
Did anyone give her something?
I couldn't continue. I was so upset, and I wanted to, and I said, no. I said, I can't say anything, but sometimes you just want to just totally go off on people. And I'm like, are you kidding? I want to tell the lady, ma'am, I'll bring you a plant over.
Right.
I'll replace it.
I'll bring you another one.
But and so people were saying, please don't touch them because if you touch them, she's going to abandon her baby. And then they would say, well, just stand back and water the plant. And then one lady said, go to Walmart and get this extended pole and just stand back and let the extended pole. And I'm like, this is what they're saying? So all the and the mourning dove was so beautiful, just sitting there waiting to have her baby. She's just waiting to have her little. And she was upset that this one dog is sitting there on her plant, and is my plant going to die?
Oh, my God.
In a few days, the plant dies. It wasn't being taken care of before the plant, the birds sent there.
And she thought if she water it, she would.
The thing wasn't going to be there with a day or two.
Yeah, because if you water it, the birds.
The thing wasn't going to be there more than a day or two. We know that from
But this is how.
all those birds that we had over at
Yes,
Burnham.
She brought up
A week-
some way saying that, you know, and you.
No, that was her
that she was
way to
upset
get into
about
it, yeah.
that.
But this is
Way.
prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
They've become lovers of selves. Okay, it doesn't suit me, it doesn't serve me, so I'm going to kill this at the altar of convenience. This doesn't suit me. So what did it say? That evil will abound, that we'll be lovers of self, which we have been. Like, people don't like to talk to people anymore. We're so myopic and we only care about ourselves. Everything is about what's good for us and how do we take care of ourselves, and nothing else matters. And then everything that God has created as good, like marriage, they call people who get married breeders now. They're just called breeders.
They said what?
Breeders. Because they can only make children, so they're just breeders. So marriage is looked down upon. I'm like, breeders? Because now the alphabet people, the LGBTQ community, they're becoming more, the alphabet people. Yeah, they're becoming.
Yeah, their day is coming too.
They're called breeders.
Their day is coming too.
That's funny.
And another thing, you want to notice this over the next few weeks or so. The country has come down on the right side on this thing. The country is going to be rising. But it's already happening in the streets. The individuals are dying.
But also, I'm surprised at our government because did you guys hear about the praying football coach? There was a high school football coach who would pray after the games or before the games. And he just did it in a click on the sidelines just to himself. But then some students started saying, hey, can we join in? So then it became this big thing to have a prayer with Coach so-and-so before and after the game. So a few atheist parents were very upset about it. And they said, no, this is against the whole church being separated from the state and everything like that. And so they sued the man and he won. I mean, he lost, and then he just kept on going from court to court to court until he got to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court said, no, there's no problem with him praying in the school. So I'm like, whoa, the Supreme Court is actually doing some great things, but people are upset.
Remember what he was saying, he says, I'm not doing it during the time of playing, this is on our breaks. This was my choice and my privacy, and I felt that we needed to pray to help. Love you too, baby girl. But they didn't want it this way. They didn't want it. These parents were still very angry, saying, no, you're interrupting and not praying.
But he kept losing in the district courts until he got to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, because all of the district court people are on lefties.
But then they compared him to Colin Kaepernick. They said, well, Colin Kaepernick, he was bending the knee and he didn't get any justice. But it wasn't the same. Colin was not praying. He was not praying, he was protesting. So it's different. But we're always trying to
Blur the lines. Blur the lines.
Society is always trying to do something.
Yes.
We have a new member on the Supreme Court just sworn in. I'm afraid it's not going to be as easy to get these decisions anymore.
Why is that? Why is that?
Just liberal.
Oh.
Very liberal.
How come you can, what I'm saying, how come you can't sue somebody for not praying?
Church and state separate.
I
That's why
mean,
they're going against it.
they sued him, they sued him because he
Was.
How come you can't sue?
Because God is not in the schools anymore.
Never has been.
Only science and evolution.
I forgot that. You know, the sin is so bad, like I said previous in the commercial that came on, of these lotion, the women are lotion, lathering themselves, and it says, worship yourself. That's all it comes to it. It's all about them. Me thing.
I've not bought cars for the name. I couldn't buy a car called Rogue. I can do it. That's a small thing, but the small stuff is where the answers are. is the small stuff is where the answers are.
I just hope we, at some point, learn,
Well, why does history repeat itself? Because we don't
Never
yeah,
learn.
Mhm.
you know, all is futile.
there's gonna be a lot in the lake of fire, more than we think so. Because
Mhm.
if we don't, that's where we're going.
But that's what we do. We pray to God when things are going wrong. Remember the pandemic? Everyone was praying and having Zoom prayer meetings, and now nothing.
Services were full and
We're
Zoom.
good. No, not anymore.
It's like when they bombed the tower.
Mhm. I was there that day.
Yeah, it's like when they bombed the tower. Everybody was scared.
As soon as things go back to normal.
I'm like,
Yeah, cut it off.
By all means.